July 20th, 2017. From San Diego, California, this is episode 131 of You Can Bet On That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet On That, podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
So, Mike, how you feeling?
Well, I'm getting better. I'm sore. I'm definitely sore.
Mike had surgery last week to fix his back, and it was a huge success, right?
Yeah, it was good. The numbness in my arm went away immediately, and the pain, just surgical pain is what I got.
Yeah,
now.
so you're just getting over the surgery,
Right,
really,
yeah.
is now the thing.
My throat
yeah.
might sound a little groggy, too. It's pretty raw still in there.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been cheering at the craps table. That's
right,
what-
yeah. It sounds like an end of the night at the craps table.
Oh, good. So probably by our next episode, then you'll be back 100%.
I should be good,
and,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I'm about 70% better now.
Okay,
so,
good.
yeah.
Well, good. And those who follow us on social media know that the surgery didn't keep you away from the casino.
No, we had to go get our free play.
That's right. 2 days after the surgery and only 1 day after you were released from the hospital. Yeah, we headed out there for a short visit. We weren't there too long. Yeah.
It was very short, but we needed our free play, so
exactly.
we had to go.
What
we
are we
had no
supposed
choice.
to do? Yeah, that's just stupid.
It's
not
what
to
we
take
do.
advantage. It's what we do. That's right. Well, on our last episode, we asked people to send us false beliefs that casino patrons have, or that gamblers in general have. Maybe superstitions, or things that they believe the casino does, or mathematics that they think they understand.
Right. Just general stupidity.
Yeah. So we got a lot of responses, and so why don't we just jump right into that now? False beliefs. So the first one on our list is streaks of things will continue, or they will stop.
Yeah, some people believe they'll end.
This is the classic gambler's fallacy. You're watching the roulette wheel and black has come up 10 times in a row. So the chances of black coming up again are just ridiculous.
Yeah,
you got to
you
bet
gotta
on
bet
red, right?
Sure.
Or you can think, oh, black, the wheel is biased maybe. Oh,
Yeah.
black comes up way more. So either way is a fallacy. Either way is a
Right.
false belief that you think that it's going to continue or that it will stop as a result of everything.
It's just streaks. Things go in streaks.
Yeah, the streaks do happen.
Yeah,
It's just that streaks won't necessarily continue.
right. If your sample size is large enough, you'll see that everything works out as it should.
That's right. And if you do have a big sample size, you will see some long streaks.
Right. You'll see some. Mark used to run craps rolls.
Yep.
And we'd see some streaks that were just unbelievable where, a guy would roll like, what would be equivalent of a 2-hour roll.
Or like a bunch of horn numbers
Yeah, or a
on
bunch
the,
of horn numbers, right.
on the come out roll. It'd be
And
great for you if it
you
happened.
just look at it. But after a million rolls, it was like the odds of, 7 or 6 or whatever number coming up was pretty close to what you'd expect,
it
right?
really does come out. When they're independent events like rolls of the dice or like roulette spins, you will see streaks, but, on the next roll or next spin, all the math is exactly the same. The 7 coming up, it's still 1 in 6 times.
My question is, how come when we're on a good roll, we're on a really hot craps roll, and then all of a sudden it ends? Why couldn't it just go 5 rolls longer?
Just 5 rolls.
Yeah,
that's
5
all
more
we're
rolls,
asking
5 more
for.
sixes.
And that's reasonable. That's not unreasonable. Yeah. Sort of related to that, too. Numbers or events come in bunches. People, they come in bunches.
Yeah,
oh my
right.
gosh, to see all the 9s the guy rolled.
Yeah. And I'll say that's a fallacy except for hardways. Now, those do come in bunches.
Sure,
You've
let's
got
not,
to admit.
let's not go crazy. The thing is, yes, things do come in bunches, but the way that people often say that phrase, they come in bunches, it's like somehow we're supposed to take advantage of that.
Right.
Well, if a guy has rolled a bunch of 9s in a row, that doesn't mean more 9s are coming, right? It's
Right.
still, you can't see these bunches till after the fact.
Right. Well, it's like on the craps table. I always tell you'll say, have you hit any of those hardway repeaters? And it's like, no, I haven't hit any yet. But wait till later in the night. There'll be one roller and he'll repeat
He'll
like
do them
5
all.
of them, right?
They've talked about this on Gambling with an Edge, too. As humans, we are wired to look for patterns.
Sure.
And we will look for those patterns even in random events where there really are no patterns.
Yeah.
And that's where people kind of get hung up is, well, gosh, why is this happening? Why is this streak? Well, that's the pattern eventually comes up. Well, maybe it eventually comes up, but you can't take advantage of that.
Well, as humans, we'll always find a pattern in everything, even if the pattern we find is that there is no pattern.
That could be too.
Right?
Going back to Gambling with an Edge too, they had an email from a listener who said, yeah, when I'm playing video poker and say I get rid of one card, like a 7, it seems like I am dealt another 7 way more often than I should.
Yeah, right.
And of course, that's not what's happening. What's happening is this player's the victim of confirmation bias. When you have a belief,
Right. Even if it comes up very seldom, once it comes up, you believe it's happening.
that's right. You assign way more weight to the events that support your hypothesis than you put weight on things that don't support it.
Like I seem to get dealt a lot of pairs of 8s.
Pairs of 8s?
Yeah.
At poker?
At poker, video poker. I always notice like my first, 2 8s again.
Yeah.
Why do I always get 2 8s?
It happens a lot. But if you actually sat with a pen and paper and wrote down,
and I don't know why that is. I just notice the 8s. I don't notice when it's 3s or jacks or whatever. It's just 8s.
So it comes up.
It's my nemesis.
Yep. All right, let's talk about some false beliefs that we got from listeners. Joe said, one false belief is that players with big stacks know something we don't, or that they're good players since they have a big stack.
Right.
Maybe that's true at the poker table.
Yeah, could be at the poker table.
Where there is some skill involved. But just because somebody has a lot of chips in front of them doesn't necessarily mean that they're a good player or that they know what they're doing.
Well, we get this a lot where people come up, oh, you're doing well because we've got a bunch of chips. No, I bought in for all this.
Yeah, that's right.
This is what I bought in for.
I'm actually down for the night. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that happens a lot.
One from your dad that he didn't actually contact the show, but I thought, well, I have to include this here. Mike's dad believes that a game with exactly the same rules is better at one casino than another.
Right, because he's won at that casino.
That's right. It's usually based on what happened last weekend.
Right, whatever happened last week. And if he won at 3-card poker at one casino, oh, that's so much better. 3-card poker is so much better there than, but it's the exact same rules.
That's right. He will say that. Oh, I won't play 3-card poker at, casino Y.
Right.
I have to play it at casino X.
Yeah, it's much better.
There's the rules exactly the same.
No, he says it pays off better. No, it's the exact same payoffs.
Yeah. And this kind of gets down to sample size, right? People basing their information on a small sample size.
Right. He sat for a couple hours. He hit a couple of 3 of a kinds.
Yeah.
And so it's much better there.
It happens there. Chris from Faces and Aces, he sent us one, new players always win. And this is a very common fallacy. Right. He actually gave an example when we were at Vegas Vacation 4. A first-time player sat down at the blackjack table with Chris and some other players, and her first hand was a blackjack.
Right.
So there's your proof.
Yeah.
Right there. That's where you make the assumption.
She's very lucky.
Let's talk some more about blackjack. Ed, our buddy from New Jersey, who actually suggested that we do this as a topic, one of the false beliefs he mentioned in his call was other blackjack players' play will affect your results in the long run.
Yeah.
A lot of times the example is, oh my gosh, this guy broke from basic strategy.
Right.
He had a 16 and the dealer had a 5 showing, and he hit that 16 and took the dealer's bus card. And, so that's what you remember.
Right. You remember the ones you lost. You didn't remember when he did the exact same thing and it saved you.
That's right. That's right.
Because the dealer would have got that card and made a hand.
That's right. Because the pain of, losing is... Now, of course, on a single hand, a single event, yes, what a player does can affect your results.
Sure.
But in the long run, it doesn't matter how other people play at the table.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, I don't think we would blame anyone for leaving a table because that kind of thing drives them crazy.
Right. No. If it bothers you, then you should leave.
Sure. We understand that.
Fun.
We understand that. But if you really want to know, no, it doesn't affect. And we've heard this too from players is, oh, yeah, we were doing fine. And then somebody, sat down at the table and ruined the deck because of the way that they were playing. Well, no, that's not true. Your sample size is too small.
That's why no mid-deck entries.
That's right. Well, that might be a little bit. Let's move on to the next one. Will's false belief was continuous shuffling machines were designed to cheat players.
Yeah, now that you might be able to make a point because you don't know exactly what's going on in the machine.
Well,
so it could be possible, but it isn't because why would the casino have to cheat?
Yeah, the machines would have to be so much more sophisticated than they were.
Right.
The reason they were created is to thwart card counters.
Right, exactly.
Right? Is that
and then to move the game on too.
Oh, absolutely.
It moves it on way faster.
Yes.
Because the more hands the casino play, the more they're going to win.
But these machines do not read all the cards and think, okay, we're going to give the player, we're going to give him a blackjack to begin with to kind of lure him in.
Because he's a new player.
Right. And then after that, we're going to manipulate the cards.
Right.
No,
he'll end up losing 300.
These machines don't do that. That's right.
Well, a casino would never have to do that. The odds are in their favor. there's no reason to ever be caught cheating. Because if you actually did something, I mean, if you went to all the effort, which would be ludicrous to begin with, but say you did, and if you're ever caught, I mean, there's your gaming license, there's, everything is kaput,
Well,
right?
and it would have to be a conspiracy. This
Right,
couldn't be just one person, right? It would have to be the manufacturer and,
Right.
Somebody at the casino,
Right.
programming it. And
right.
It's just not
monitoring
worth it. The players are going to lose enough money.
And then you just go, it'd drive you crazy. You'd go haywire and everyone would win. It'd do the exact opposite.
That's right. Yeah, you'd said it wrong. Now, that's not to say that the guy who filled the continuous shuffler didn't take out a bunch of tens.
Right.
Cheating could happen that way. There's in jurisdictions where maybe they don't have as tight a gaming commission as maybe they do in Nevada and other places. That kind of thing could happen. But the machine themselves are not cheating players.
Right.
Yeah. Will also send us another one. People who take even money on blackjack with a dealer's ace showing are making the right move. And this kind of is like the soft 18 that we talked about recently.
Right.
Will was actually at a table where everybody was doing that. Anytime they were dealt a blackjack and the dealer was showing an ace, they took even money. And eventually, Will was in that circumstance. And he did not take even money, and sure enough, the dealer had blackjack, and so, it was a push. He didn't get anything.
Right.
And so everybody at the table was giving him a hard time. Oh, you blew it, right? When, of course, he didn't blow it, but in this small sample size, yes, he blew it. But in the long run, of course, that's not the right move.
Now, I wonder, had he not taken it, got paid time and a half, would they have all said, nobody would smart.
Nobody would have said a word.
They would have just
and of course, Will would have, 6 ace in your face. Right? Because I got paid 3-2. All right. So those are some of the blackjack false beliefs we got. Let's talk about slots for a little bit. One thing that Ed mentioned was a false belief is that if you put your player's card in the machine, it reduces the payback, or you're less likely to get a jackpot, or, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
No.
Why would that come about? Why would somebody think that?
Well, just because, again, there's small sample size. They put their card in. Hey, I actually forgot to put my card in. I was doing okay on this machine. I put my card in, and now I'm not winning anymore.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that...
I mean, but why would the casino...
Oh, why would they do it? Well, they wouldn't.
Yeah, why would they want...
They want their players that are, willing to put all their information
in. That are going to come back.
Yeah, they want them to win as much as anybody else. Yeah, exactly. Again, with slots, Jason sent us one. The computer in the slot machine will never let you win while playing with free play.
Yeah, now that's true. Okay. I got to agree with him on that.
And again, why would the casino do that? They're giving you free play,
right?
As an incentive to stay at the casino.
Sure.
So if they could do anything, they'd make it so that maybe you win a little bit more when you're playing.
Right.
But no, again, the conspiracy that would have to exist for that to go on
would be huge.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
It's funny because we do pretty good on our free play, I think, overall. Now, I haven't kept... You probably kept better statistics than me.
I haven't. I mean, I've kept track of how much I've won in free play, but I haven't compared it to how much we've been given in free play, to be honest with you.
But it seems like we get a fair amount back.
Well, we do.
I mean, when we lose, it's not that much. We win, it's not that much either.
We're playing video poker. We're playing bonus poker. We're not playing full pay.
Right.
But let's say we're playing a 97% game. That's probably what we've been getting back. Because, think about it. There are plenty of times where we'll hit a 4 of a kind or whatever, and we'll cash out for way more than our free play is worth. There are other times when we'll have a bad run. We'll only get about 50%.
Right.
But,
but overall, I mean, most of the time we get $300 or $400 of free play and we cash out for like maybe $30 less than the free play amount.
And if we were playing,
that's pretty good.
If we were playing with real money, our results would be about the same.
The same, probably.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Another on slots, Maddie and also Michael James both said rubbing the slot machine screen will help you win.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things you can do to a slot machine. Rubbing it, tapping it, running your hand over the screen. We
see it all all the time we go out there, people are doing it, right? They're hitting it or rubbing, to try to get it to happen.
Yeah.
Now, whether they really believe it or not, or they're just having fun, I don't know. But I can't imagine that the slot machines have been manufactured in such a way that when they feel the warmth of the human touch, it increases the chances of paying out a jackpot.
A little extra love never hurts. Give the machine a little love. We should go around one day and just film people doing stuff to machines.
We should in the casino.
See how outrageous
posting along. And finally, for slots, Taylor sent us one. Slot machines are looser after holiday weekends. He says this comes from the pre-ticket in, ticket out days where the hoppers are full of coins. Because it's after the big holiday weekend.
Right.
So they have to pay out. They're too full.
Right.
All right, bingo. You want some bingo? The only reason I brought this up is because we've been playing bingo at our house, just kind of for fun.
Oh, right.
So here's a false belief. Changing bingo cards will change your luck.
Yeah, well, how about playing more bingo cards?
Well, see, that's the thing. When you actually play bingo in a casino, you have a set of cards, and when there's a new game, it's actually a different set of cards that you're playing with anyway.
Right.
So it's not like you
Right.
change your bingo cards, but that's a false belief. Now, if you really knew what everybody else's bingo cards were, and you could kind of run the math on it, you might be able to generate a bingo card that gives you a better chance
It would pay out before the others.
That's right, because everybody else has certain numbers, and you pick the ones they don't. But just changing it because you think, oh, this is an unlucky one. That's
it's kind of hard for the casino to cheat at bingo.
Yeah, I guess so. Although if you watched a recent episode of Better Call Saul, he was in an old folks home and he actually did some cheating for a player. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you could call, I guess if you knew the player's card, you could call their numbers.
Well, what you do is you have like weighted balls or something like that. But no, it's not to the
Take
casinos.
Gum off your balls.
Yeah, take the gum off your balls. Yep, exactly. All right, let's move on to craps, our favorite. Will sent us several craps false beliefs. Number 1, a 7 is more likely to be rolled when, and we're just going to list when a 7 is more likely to be rolled. I like this one. The waitress calls out cocktails.
Right. Now that, I haven't heard too many people say that, but yeah, you do. You hear that. As soon as she comes around, every time.
Yeah, that's right.
7 out.
A 7 comes up anytime there's a delay of any kind.
Stick change. Dice go off the table.
Right, anything like that.
Dispute among some player.
Right, or somebody buys in the middle of the roll or they, they have to do a fill in the middle. Usually they won't do that, but anything that makes a delay. But you're right, a dispute.
Anything that's a delay, any kind of minor delay, or the shooter walks away from the table.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, the other night, that's so funny you mentioned that. This shooter was in the middle of a good roll. And then I think it was his come-out roll, though.
Yeah, it was a come-out. He made his point.
He really had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed. The casino said, is it okay if we wait for him to go to the bathroom? He'll go real quick. And
she asked everybody on the table.
Yeah, and of course we said, yeah, no problem. If anybody would say no, it'd be the casino.
Right.
Because then the game, slows down quite a bit. But yeah, that was nice.
They let him go. He came back. He rolled a few more rolls.
Yeah.
He didn't 7 out immediately when he came back. Of course, he didn't wash his hands on my suggestion.
Sure. Well, you don't want to do that because you wash all the luck off your hands. Right. That's just, again, that's just common sense. We're trying to distinguish between false beliefs.
We threw those dice out after he was done, and we just got new dice.
We're not crazy. We don't want to get sick. Superstitious craps players are going to come up with tons of different reasons why a 7's coming on the next roll.
Right. Craps is probably the easiest to come up with superstitions.
You're probably right. Yes.
Yeah, because, 7's going to come up a fair amount of times.
Yep.
And you can just say anything. Oh, every time Joe mentions blah, blah, blah. The dealers will laugh about it out there. Someone will say something. And then it'll be 7 out. And every time, Brenda says, whatever.
That's right.
7 comes.
That's right. All right. Here's another good one for craps. After a hot roll, there will be a cold roll.
Yeah.
Right? How many times, oh my gosh, that roll was so good.
Yeah.
There's no way the next roll could be very good, right? It's going to be a cold one.
Yeah.
So bet on the don't, or don't bet as much.
Or don't bet as much, or wait until they make a few numbers, see if they're going to roll.
Here's another one. After a 7 out, the next shooter is more likely to come out on the previous shooter's point.
That you do a lot of people, and they hop the number, right? Oh,
right.
We waited so long for that 8, and it never came.
Yep.
Guy had a long roll. His last point was 8. He never made it, so hop the 8's coming out.
Yep, the new shooter's going to roll an 8, come out on an 8. Yep, exactly.
And when it happens, you look like a genius.
That's right. I've seen somebody at this table make that bet before and look like a genius. Here's something that's kind of general, not just to craps, but other games too. A dealer change will switch the luck, or the casino brings in a specific dealer to make the luck go bad.
Right, to change your luck.
Oh man, they're doing too well in here. Send in Ken.
Yeah.
Right, to
he's
change
the kiss
the luck.
Of death,
That's right. They call that a cooler. In fact, we've got a phone call coming up on coolers, where people come to who's a cooler?
My dad.
Yeah, your dad is. That's right. We'll be at the craps table. Oh my God, your dad's coming. All my bets are off.
As soon as he walks up, 7 out.
He's a cooler. There's no question about that. Anyway, those are some false beliefs. Thanks to everybody who provided some of those. And anybody, if you can think of some more, send them to us. We'll talk about them. It's fun to talk about.
There's a million of them.
Oh, there really are.
And they're fun.
We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, they're fun to mention and everything. It's just funny what people come up with.
Yeah.
That's what gets me.
Well, again, you're trying to find patterns.
Right.
And a lot of gambling is completely random. And you're trying to find these patterns here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, and if you were very superstitious and you had a lot of these beliefs, you would probably not have too much fun like playing craps. You'd be awful. I'm off this roll. I'm not, you're off like once every 10 rolls you're actually on because, you've got something weird happened at the table.
Maybe it's just easier for some people to assign simple explanations to complicated issues. And I'll use horse racing as an example. Oh, who do you bet? Well, I like to bet on the horse that has the most yellow, like we were joking about, right? Now, obviously, having yellow has no effect on how fast a horse is going to run.
Right.
But it's easier for some people to just use that as well, it's just simple. It's just simple as opposed to going through all
looking at their times.
Yeah, the times in the previous races, right? So anyway.
I guess in anything in life, like UFOs and stuff, we all look for some explanations. It's easier to say, it's from outer space.
That's right.
It's not that it's like some...
That's an easy explanation. It's just the aliens coming down.
The aliens.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, now that I think about it, you're right. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. Let's move on to our voicemail hotline segment. And in fact, there are some more false beliefs coming up in these calls. Remember, call our hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
And maybe we'll play your clip on the show. First up is Neil.
Hey guys, it's Neil calling. I just got kind of a trip report. Me and my father decided to just switch it up. And for where I live in Maryland, Pittsburgh is about the same distance as Atlantic City. So we decided to go to a casino called Rivers in Pittsburgh. It's kind of right near this downtown, near the Steelers Stadium and the Pirate Stadium. It's a freestanding casino. In the morning, it's $5 tables, 10 times odds. Surprisingly enough, they have 9 tables and they fill up pretty quick. There's not a whole lot of competition in Pittsburgh. They have the Rivers, obviously, and then they have Meadows, which is about 30 minutes away, where they have harness racing. Some really big craps players, surprisingly, in there. You usually go to Atlantic City or Vegas in the high rollers area, and you see a lot of big players. But I think you guys saw the picture that I posted. There was a guy betting 50 on the pass line and 10 times odds behind that on every single point that was coming out. And a lot of people were just throwing fire. He was placing, I think, over 100 on each number that wasn't the point, and he had to make about $6,000-7,000 easily. Friendly dealers, customer service oriented, and super friendly, decent places to eat. But the craps play, I was there. I decided to take the day off, and I was there on a Friday morning, and it was just packed up. And then by the time it got to 3 p.m., all the 9 tables were open. I guess I'm not used to seeing that kind of action in Maryland. One other thing that I want to talk about, and I know that we had this discussion on the AC Facebook group, is 5 times true odds. And so I understand that if you increase the pass line bet, that you're given larger odds to kind of make it even for the dealers, and it's not something that's really announced or whatever. And so I just kind of learned about that. Not that I'd bet more or be comfortable putting that much on the back end, but I was just wondering if you guys use these true odds and go 250 on the back end with 30 on the pass line and go above what's presented at the table in terms of what odds you can use. I don't think I'll go back to Rivers, though. It was just kind of a fun craft experience. Like I said, lots of action. But my next trip is probably going to be Vegas in terms of playing craps. Love the podcast. Talk soon.
For me, I often will not take full odds in a lot of situations just because maybe my bankroll can't handle it.
Right.
But tell me if you agree with this, Mike. As far as you, I think you pretty much will take as much in odds that they will let you take up to, say, 10 times odds.
Right.
Wouldn't you say that's true?
Yeah. I'll always take 10 times.
At least 10. And then if you're at a casino where they offer more than that, 20 times odds or 100 times odds.
I work my way up.
Maybe you work your way up.
Yeah, because I'm not going to put $5 and, 500 behind it
right
for
away.
100 times odds.
Yeah.
But I will put 200 or 250 to start with.
Right. So a full 5 times odds,
right.
You would definitely take something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear from Brian.
Hey guys, Brian from Southern California. There's a recurring question, and I just heard you guys answer it again, along the lines of should I cheer or should I feel good or should I feel bad at the craps table when I win and somebody loses, or I lose and somebody wins, or I roll a 7 and somebody, loses money because of it, blah, blah, blah. Here's my theory. Take it for what it's worth. If I bet on a boxing match and I'm at the match and my guy wins and I win a bunch of money, I'm going to cheer. somebody just got beat into unconsciousness, and I'm not going to feel guilty about cheering. So if we set that as the bar, I'm certainly not going to stop feeling happy and cheering if I win money at a gambling event just because somebody else lost money. Take it for what it's worth. I think that's a pretty sensible way to look at life. Have a good day. Love the show.
I would say just use some common sense when it. For example,
I agree with this analogy.
Absolutely.
I agree with.
I think in a situation, for me at least, if I'm betting the don't pass at craps and 7 comes up and everybody else at the table has just lost money,
right.
I'm not going to cheer under those circumstances just because I want to be polite.
Right.
Right. Now,
there's cheering and then there's cheering.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
A lot of things in life aren't that cut and dry. It's how you do it.
Yeah. Sure.
So you could win and everyone else could have lost, and you could say, "Oh, good," and collect your money and be happy and smile. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone's going to be mad at you. You jump up and down and you run down the table in your face. That's
sure.
And then you've carried it past a point of. It's the same with a boxing match, right?
Yeah, sure.
You're not going to turn to the person next to you who just lost a bunch of money betting on the other guy and berate him.
Right, but you can cheer as loud as you want.
Yeah,
sure,
you're going to cheer because,
sure.
Somebody's going to win and lose, right? There's going to be an outcome.
Sure. But let's say you are a fan of the visiting team at a football game.
Yes.
And let's say it's a big rivalry.
Yeah, which I've been there. I've done that.
Sure. You're probably not going to cheer too loudly for your team just because you don't want to get beat up.
Exactly. After the game. I'll tell you what, I went to a Seattle Seahawks versus San Diego Charger games in Seattle when the old Kingdome, when they had the Kingdome. And I did not cheer loudly. They were very, very sensitive to that.
Yes.
Because as soon as the Chargers did something good and we clapped, the glares were like, okay, yeah, you carry this much further, you're getting punched.
Yes.
So, we kept our mouth shut. And going out, the Chargers happened to win that game. Going out, we were very silent. Yeah. Just like everyone else was walking away in dead silence.
That's self-preservation,
we were not whooping it up because there were a lot of them and only a few of us.
Yeah. So again, I definitely agree with Brian. There are going to be some situations there, though, where you maybe want to keep a low profile just for self-preservation.
Right. It's in the way you do things.
Yeah, of course.
Like everything else in the world, right?
Yeah.
You can sometimes give somebody you don't even know a little grief about something. And if you do it in the right manner, they know you're joking with them and they're, they take it good. You do it in a little different manner, you might get punched.
That's right. Maybe they think you're looking for trouble.
Yeah, right. You're trying to incite them.
Yep.
I get a kick out of that Seattle story when I tell that because, you think I'd started off with we were in Chicago, we were in Philadelphia, we were in New York, we were in Seattle. I thought people in Seattle were pretty mellow,
Mike,
right?
It's so funny you say that because I have a similar Seattle story, okay? This was not with you. It was before your trip. I was up there with our friend Mike,
right?
And we were sitting there. We were kind of on a junket with, San Diego fans. And so we were there in the stadium. We were obviously Charger fans. I don't think we were whooping it up that much. Right. But the guys behind us were kind of throwing their beer around, deliberately spilling it on us. And so it's not right.
No, but I did not expect Seattle fans to be so. I was a little scared because, there were 4 of us and we're 4 guys, but against 50 guys.
There have
much
been
of
some real life stories. Look at that San Francisco Giants fan at Dodger Stadium.
Dodger Stadium that was killed in the parking lot.
Well, he wasn't killed, but he got brain damage.
Oh,
it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. I remember it was pretty devastating.
Common sense. All right, next call.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Chris from Round Rock, Texas. Just a follow up on my trip to Mohegan Sun. I was playing craps at the $5 table, and I was shooting, and I actually had a very good roll. I didn't hit my point ever, but I was hitting lots of 6s and 8s and some hard ways. And at one point, a woman standing a couple spots from me, she didn't look like a high roller. She wasn't betting that much, but she said $5 hard 10 for the shooter. And I looked at her, I was like, oh, thank you very much. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I meant hard 10 for the stick man. Like she was asking the stick man to put a $5 hard 10 out for it. I was like, I was just kind of joking around. It's like, I thought you were betting for me. No, don't worry about it. And then, she said, and $1 for the shooter. So, which was cool. I'd never have been bet on as the shooter before. And so I was like, oh, sounds great. And then 2 or 3 more rolls later, I hit it and it was a lot of fun. We high-fived everything. And then I put a couple bucks on her hard 10. But I didn't win that much money, but it was fun. I've never, as a shooter, been bet on before. So even though it was an accident on her part, she, was just telling the stick man to put $5 off her. She accidentally said shooter, and then it turned out that she did make a bet for me. So So yeah, as I mentioned, Mohegan Sun $5 craps table Saturday night, so it's probably got $5 most of the time. But we had a good time. All right, thanks. Bye.
I think I'm going to try something. His story
what's
gave
that?
me an idea. Is when people just, maybe somebody at the other side of the table who I don't know just throws in like, oh, give me a $5 hard 10 or something like that. If I'm shooting, I'll just say, oh, thank you. Oh, that's very nice of you.
Yeah.
And then he'll, no, that's not for you. I was just making it for myself. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And then maybe he'll feel so guilty that I was all excited.
Well,
then
give me four,
go ahead,
give
Ben.
me 4-1 for the
4-1. Yeah. Get the shooter. Actually, yeah, I think I'll try
That's
that.
good. That's
right.
a good scam. You probably make some money doing that. You have nothing to lose.
I'll try it on you. How about that? We'll
it'll
say,
work on
well,
me.
thanks, Dr. Mike.
Now, I frequently bet for shooters.
Yeah, you do.
I frequently bet for shooters.
Yep.
And this story reminds me of, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, I guess? There were two couples playing craps on the same table as us. And the husband was rolling, and he happened to make a point. And I had like 50 on the line with 250 odds, like on an 8. So I get like $350. And as soon as they paid, he says, how about a little something for the shooter? Remember that?
I know what it is. I know exactly what you're talking about. You know what it was? It wasn't that, Mike. I know the story you're talking about, though. He was rolling, and he rolled craps.
Oh, that was
right.
It.
You had pressed up a horn bet,
right?
And so everybody lost on the pass line, and then you won a bunch because it was like aces, and you'd parlayed it, right? So that I do remember that now. Yeah.
Okay, that was it. Yeah, I remember him asking for a bet.
Yeah, he actually asked for it.
Yeah,
and then when you were down at that point, and he was a
little drunk.
He was. I don't want to say he was out of line. But it's like, well, there really was no reason for you to tip him at that point.
Right.
You were still down for the night.
Right.
And you kind of ignored him.
Yeah,
and then he said, oh, this is BS. And I don't know how joking he was about it because he was drunk, but it's like,
I just ignored that too. What was funny is I think later, if I remember, you did the same thing and I replaced your line bet.
Yeah, well,
because you lost.
Yeah. I'm
I won $500
and I'm nice to you.
Yeah, and I just gave you $5 to replace your line bet, which I do for people a lot.
Yeah, you do that
but
a lot.
the guy asking, that was kind of
right, when you ask, like a dealer asking for a tip.
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's hear from Pete.
Hi guys, this is Pete from Minneapolis, Minnesota, just calling with a trip report from a 5-night stay in Las Vegas, Nevada. Went to stay at Aria with 5 nights with the wife, celebrating end of graduate school and kind of just getting away from work. Great property. Gambling was mixed. I'll say I like to get my fill of craps when I'm in town because we don't have craps in Minnesota, and I was pleasantly surprised to be able to find $10 minimums at Aria and the Cosmopolitan next door pretty much most of the day, which was nice. Highlight of the craps for the trip was I was able to finally convince my wife to give it a try. I think she's always been intimidated by the game, but I got her to play at Cosmopolitan, and she really enjoyed it. And I think she kind of figured it out pretty quick, which I give a lot of props to the crew over at the Cosmo for doing a great job. They had a really upbeat attitude and were very friendly and kind of were willing to answer any questions, which was excellent. It's important in blackjack, but I think I'm of the opinion that having a good attitude from the dealers is probably more important in craps than any other game for having a good time. My own results, every time I went to play, kind of lost a couple $100 here and there. It was fun, but at the last day, I was kind of down a little bit, and I was like, all right, well, time to play some blackjack, see if I can turn this around. Tried to play at Aria at first, but blackjack conditions at Aria are not great. I was actually pretty surprised. I was there during the middle of the week, and I tend to do my gambling in the morning, so I'm kind of expecting 3-2 game, probably about a $25 minimum in the morning for a place like Aria. But the lowest they'll accept for a 3-2 blackjack over there is $50. $50, and it's a hit on soft 17 game. So that's a little ridiculous considering I think most Caesars properties have got a $15 3-2 game, and the other MGM properties around also have great 3-2 games for $25. So I spent most of my time playing blackjack over at MGM. I was able on the last day to go on a nice little run that brought me up ahead for the trip. I started with $500 over at a $25 great game at MGM, turned that into $1,000, and cashed out with my first yellow chip ever, which was kind of a checking off something on the bucket list. So
nice.
It was my last day, and I kind of decided, all right, well, let's just kind of go all out, and went back to Aria. Now, I said blackjack at Aria isn't great, but they do have one game there that's fantastic. They've got a double deck game with really great rules. It's a super low house edge, but it's a $100 minimum, so I was like, well, I got $1,000 here. Let's just kind of go for it last day. And so I cashed in for $1,000, and about half hour later, cash out for $2,000. So it was kind of nice to have everything kind of go my way in the last day, and ended up with a small but good-sized win. Thanks for the podcast, guys. Really enjoy it, and hope to hear more. Thanks.
Good report. That's a great report.
Yeah. It's terrible to hear that you have to get up to $50 at Aria before you can get 3 to 2. At the same time, I sort of am just throwing my hands in the air because 6 to 5 blackjack is here to stay. And we've talked about it before. 6 to 5 blackjack is still better than playing roulette.
Right.
So it's here to stay, and all we can do is fight the good fight, and I won't be playing any 6 to 5 blackjack.
Yeah, it may eventually be gone, though. 3 to 2 may just die off.
Might. Yeah, good report. All right, let's get a Tunica report.
Hey guys, this is Cody from Alabama. I'm just going to give you a trip report from last week going to the Tunica properties. So me and my wife went on Wednesday of this week, had 2 comp nights with the Caesars properties there. There's 2 Caesar properties there, the Horseshoe and then Roadhouse. We stayed at Roadhouse. Played craps for the first time ever, thanks to you guys. I've been listening to the podcast for about a month, and I had always been intimidated by craps at the table, and I always just played blackjack and poker. But I think after this week, I'll probably never play blackjack again, and will only play poker if I'm there by myself because of how much time it takes to actually get involved into the game. But the podcast has been really helpful, learning how to play the game. The crew at Roadhouse was extremely good and very helpful. They were having a good time. Everybody at the table was having a good time. Got hooked instantly on it. 20 times odds on the tables. There were $5 tables at Horseshoe and Roadhouse, as well as $10 tables. The MGM property, the Gold Strike in Tunica, it was $10 tables and also $25 tables. Had one bad experience on Thursday. We went to a couple other casinos in town there in Tunica, went to Sam's Town and went to Bally's also. Both places, the crew was really, really unprofessional and pretty rude, pretty terrible as far as just acting like we were a nuisance to even be there. But anyway, the 2 Caesars properties were very good. The MGM property is also very nice in town. So if you're ever down in the Memphis, Tunica area, yeah, I definitely suggest going there for your total rewards. But anyway, thanks for the podcast. Enjoy it. Have a good day.
Good. Another convert. Yeah. I'd like to hear. Good. Convert to craps. Yeah, the crew, the dealers. It's the most important thing.
Yep.
It's not the rules. Well, craps, the rules aren't that much different. So,
right. But all those things add up. But the dealers, they're the make it or break it. That's what they are. Thing. They're the make it or break it.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's hear from our buddy Robin at Anytime Gambling.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Robin from Anytime Gambling out here in Connecticut. Well, I was glad to hear that you were thinking about coming out here next year. I hope you don't have to be a podcaster to get together with you guys, but I would help get anything put together if you see the need. I just wanted to comment. I went up to Maine to see the 2 casinos up there. They're small, but I was lucky enough in the early morning in Bangor, Maine, to have a craps table to myself. And it was the strangest luck I've ever seen. Playing a 3-point Molly, and man, it was like point, 7 out. And that happened 5 times in a row, only interrupted by 1 7 made.
Huh.
It was incredible. It was in 15 minutes. It was the same pattern over and over and over again. Now, most people would think, of course, that the casino probably had something to do with that, and maybe that's one of your myths that you can add. And one other thing that you can add to that list of myths and craziness, a lot of slot players will get on some of the older machines. When you play, you can play a number of lines, and each button on the lines has a particular pitch. As a musician, I know that I can tell you mi, so, do, mi, so. And they tend to play like a song or something to try to fake the machine out, to make it think that, oh, there's a new player here now. Wow. Just amazing. So listen, if you're out in Connecticut, hope to see you then. If not, I'm hoping to see you at the Nerd Society thing in October. Okay, guys, love your podcast. You always do a great job. Good luck next weekend at Rincon. Bye.
All right, thanks, Robin. Yeah, we'll see you at the summit. So yeah, number 7. That's the worst thing, especially when you're doing the combats.
It's the worst, period.
I'll never forget, though, one time at Harrah's, we were there, it was with your wife.
Okay.
And you and your wife went to the buffet. I said, okay, I'm going to stay and play. As soon as you left, I switched to the don't.
Right.
And I caught one of those streaks. Number 7. Number 7.
It's a don't player's dream.
Oh, it was fantastic. I had a don't, and I didn't lose a single bet. The table cleared out.
Right.
And then you guys came back from dinner. I said, hey, look what happened.
The funny thing is, too, you're the perfect player for that because you don't pass on any numbers. Like if a 6 rolled, you don't say no action.
Of course not.
You take the number, you lay the odds.
And I laid full odds.
Yeah, you're laying full odds, and it's number 7.
It happens. Robin actually had a follow-up call.
Hey, you guys, just calling again. I had to share this one story with you. A couple days ago, I was at Mohegan Sun, and I walked by this guy who had a pad and a paper, and he was playing a single electronic roulette wheel machine, of course, run with an RNG. Well, I said, gee, I'm just curious. What are you doing? And he said, well, I'm looking for the pattern in the roulette wheel because certain roulette wheels have a pattern. And I said, but it's run by a random number generator. He refused to think that had anything to do with it. He was going to find that pattern and make millions. So that is the craziest misunderstanding of an RNG I have ever heard. Anyways, I just had to let you know. Catch you later, and as always, great job.
You might be able to find something wrong with a random number generator.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a good story here. I don't know that we talked about it. It's about some Russian hackers who took advantage of a flaw in some old slot machines.
They're always Russian.
But but here's the thing. If there was a flaw with the random number generator,
right,
you wouldn't be able to find it probably by sitting and just, writing down, say, 1,000 spins.
No,
That's just not a big enough. You'd have to have some knowledge about the inner workings of the machine.
Right.
Or sit there, for millions of spins before you could figure something out. And again, it's a lot different than actually trying to find a biased roulette wheel, which, those do exist, even though those are hard to find too. Yeah, people want to find patterns.
It's like
when
when Mark tracks the rolls, he'll track the rolls sometimes just for goofiness.
Well, and I like at the end of the night, I like, kind of entering them in, not because I want to find patterns, but just, all right, how much did you lose on this bet? How much did I like keeping track? Yeah.
Right. And people always like, oh, you're looking for some pattern, oh, no, just writing the numbers down. Nothing more to it than just writing the numbers down. You'll see people all the time with their pad and their paper.
Well, hey,
writing stuff down.
Look at any roulette table now in the United States. They all have the tracking on it.
Yeah.
Right. They show like the last 10 spins.
Right. They want you to
find those patterns. Yep.
Right.
All right. We talked earlier about coolers. Let's hear a call about coolers.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike. This is Scott again from the great state of North Carolina, calling in about this week's topic around false beliefs in the casino. So my false belief, my false belief is coolers, and in coolers, are they real or not, right? So my opinion is that coolers are most definitely real, and in fact, I've experienced a cooler firsthand. So I guess it was about 10 or 12 years ago. I'm sitting in the Monte Carlo at a dice table, and there's probably 4 or 5 guys playing at the time. And the guy next to me gets a dice and proceeds to shoot. And he keeps making number and point after point. He shoots for long enough that everybody literally has hundreds or thousands of dollars in chips in front of them. And just like any hot craps table, the players come out of the woodworks and fill the table up. And then there's definitely spectators. The spectators are ringing the table about 2 to 3 deep. So the shooter still has dice in his hand. And all of a sudden, this guy comes out of the crowd, pushes his way through the crowd to come up to the table. And he, in fact, bumps directly into the shooter right when he has dice in his hand about to roll.
Worst thing you can do.
This stops,
touch the shooter.
Roll. Yeah. The guy backs away. Shooter picks up the dice, goes through his routine. Very next roll, 7 out. So after he 7s out, the guy who bumped into him immediately walks away, goes about his business, goes in another direction, away from the table. So I most definitely think that this guy was a cooler. He proceeded not to be a spectator, not to go to any other part of the table. He hit it directly to the shooter, bumped directly into him, and immediate 7 out afterwards. Well, that's my story about coolers. I can't wait to hear your guys' opinion about this, but I experienced it firsthand. But I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, guys.
All right. So again, coolers are people that bring bad luck to the table that the casino may send to a table. Yeah. Maybe they're a cooler dealer.
Disrupt the table.
Or just a player, somebody who walks around, to disrupt it. Now, do they exist? Yes, coolers exist. Do they do what the casino thinks they do? No.
No.
No, they don't.
Probably not.
And Scott, thinking of your story here, what if the story had been the guy had bumped the shooter and then the shooter just rolled a 4 on the next roll? You wouldn't even have thought about it. It wouldn't even be a story in your head anymore.
It's just like when somebody puts their hands in inadvertently and they hit it and it's 7 and everyone's like, oh, they put their hands there. And we've seen so many times where it's hit somebody's hands, they're down there and then they made the point or it was like a 3 or something. It's no big deal. I'll tell you what though, cooler dealers.
Yeah.
Now, if a table's having fun and everyone's winning, you send a new dealer in who's got a real negative, almost mean attitude.
Sure.
That'll clear a table just because it's not fun anymore.
Well, of course. Oh, yeah. A person's attitude will affect the mood of the table.
Right. And when the mood goes bad, maybe, the winning goes along with it. I mean, it shouldn't.
Excuse me, Dr. Mike?
It shouldn't. I'm not saying that it would, but your perception might be like,
okay, perception's something else. Yes.
This isn't fun anymore, right? This guy's kind of maybe the dealer before you was like, all right, cheering for you every time you hit some. Sure. And the new guy's like, cool. Yeah. So, there you go. You might clear the table that way.
Well, I think it's funny that there are still some casinos, or at least say casino employees, who believe in coolers.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was talking to a dealer the other night, and I said to her, oh, I've never met that blackjack dealer that's over there. I've never met her before because we always play craps and I've never met her. And the dealer said to me, oh, don't ever play with her. She'll take all your money.
Yeah.
Right. And she was serious, kind of like,
serious. Yeah. She's a cooler.
She's a cooler. I will say this. There is a movie called The Cooler starring William H. Macy where he is a cooler. That's a very good movie.
Okay.
And yeah, he's a cooler in the movie. So, I am recommending the movie. But do coolers exist? Yes. Do they do what you think they do? No, they don't.
Well, sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes when the dice go off the table, the next roll's a 7.
Yeah, sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do.
And sometimes they don't.
All right. One last call.
Hey, guys. Mike in Los Angeles. Quick trip report. I was out in Palm Springs a couple weeks ago for a weekend and made our way over to the Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio. And on a Saturday night, 10 o'clock at night, they didn't have the craps table open. So I was kind of wandering the casino floor trying to find a pit boss, finally found one, and they said, we just don't have the crew tonight on a Saturday night for craps. That was the whole reason we went there. So we actually found a bubble machine, but it wasn't a shoot to win craps. It was just had craps on top, and it was kind of weird. It wouldn't bounce the dice up and down. They would spin in a circle. And there was 3 bumpers on the side of the circle that would kind of knock the dice as they're spinning around. And the dice wouldn't really jump. They just spin, and then it was really funky. I didn't like it. You kind of thought they would be done spinning, and then slowly they'd hit another bumper, and then, of course, it's a 7. Or I didn't like it, and I only played for about 20 minutes, and then we got out of there. Another thing I wanted to comment on was the Canadian casinos. About 5 years ago, I was up in Vancouver at the River Rock, and I had brought $1,500 US with me. And I kind of didn't know what the process was, so I went to the cage and they exchanged my $1,500 for Canadian dollars. So we played craps. Didn't really like the vibe there, wasn't really feeling it, but we did make $300. So I went back to the cage and they actually gave me my American dollars back, the same exact $1,500 I had with my Canadian winnings. And I tried to cash out my winnings there for US, and of course they didn't have anything. So we were running around Vancouver for our last day trying to spend $300. When you come back to the States, that's when you get hit with the exchange rate, though. So it's, you feel like you're getting a lot of money there. I think I got 2,000 Canadian for my 1,500 US, but I eventually came down here and exchanged it, and I only got like 220 back or something like that. So just observations. See you guys.
So Fantasy Springs, your craps table is not open at 10 p.m.
on a Saturday night.
Is it ever open?
Yeah. I mean, when would you have it open?
Jeez. Now, Fantasy Springs, it's a casino here in California that until recently we had never heard of.
We had never even heard of.
Yeah. And you've got a funny story about it.
Yeah. A patient of mine had gone out there and he really liked it. And him and his wife are pretty active casino goers.
Uh-huh.
So they went out there, and from here, it's in Indio. I don't know. It's probably an hour and a half, 2 hour drive.
Oh, at least 2 hours, I'd say, from
probably
here. Yeah,
2 hour
mm-hmm.
drive.
Yeah.
So they went out there and stayed the weekend, and he was telling me all about it, and he liked it. And I guess it has a bowling alley and quite a large number of amenities.
Okay.
Because it's out in the middle of nowhere, so we got to get you out there, right?
Yeah.
So the next time he came in, he brought me the little holder that they give you when you get room keys.
Oh, yeah. It's got kind of like your room number on it.
Yeah, they put your room number and the keys are inside.
They put the key in a little slot.
And on the inside of this one, it had a layout of the property.
Mm-hmm.
So it had where the bowling alley was, where the restaurants were, where the casino floor was. So you could kind of see. He wanted to show me all the stuff.
Yeah.
So he gave it to me and I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, keep it. So I put it in my car in the console to show you.
Yeah.
Which I did that weekend when we went out. I said, oh, yeah, we've never heard it. We had never heard of this place.
For some reason. I don't know.
And it looked like, a pretty big casino. And I didn't say what tables they had or anything, but the casino floor looked pretty good size compared to the rest of the property. So, we were talking about it anyway. Then we went on, it was just before
Vegas Vacation 4, yeah. Uh-huh.
And so we went on that. When I came home, my wife, who had been driving my car while I was gone, says to me, what's that thing in your car from the hotel? And I'm like, thing in my car in the hotel. I'm like, I don't know. I had no idea what she's talking about. We're eating dinner. And she said, well, let me go get it. So she goes out to my car. She comes in and I see what it is. And I'm like, oh, it's this casino that's out in the desert that one of my patients told me about. He gave me this to show Mark. Well, all it has is it's like got the room number on it, right? Like I was at room 303 or something, whatever it was. And I'm like, yeah, Mark and I,
It's called Fantasy Springs.
Right? It's called Fantasy Springs. Yeah, we didn't really go to Rincon. We drove 2 hours out into the desert, got a room.
Or you just went out on a liaison and you forgot to get rid of your
I forgot to get rid of my room key
holder.
Oh, I'm laughing so hard. The funniest part about that is, first of all, I would never drive 2 hours out in the desert to some Fantasy Springs place and get a room, especially if the craps table's not open at 10 o'clock on Saturday night. There's no.
And second of all, you wouldn't cheat on your wife?
Yeah.
Was that the second thing you were going to say?
The second thing. I would never cheat on my wife, but why would I go there to do it? Fantasy Springs.
Yeah.
I should have came up with some story. Oh, Mark and I went out there and they give you massages.
Yeah, right.
To us.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how we want to spend our time.
That craps table's closed. What else are you going to do? All right. Well, thanks for everybody's calls. That's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, Robert, thank you very much. Also, a donation from Will. He sent us all those false beliefs. He said, thanks for playing and responding to my call and answering my email question. You guys always have helpful and entertaining commentary. Thanks, Will. Also, from Michael, he says, thanks for the great show. Heading to Vegas this week with some friends for their first visit in 15 years. Just as I logged in to send this message, Viva Ned Flanders started on TV, that Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
That has to be a good sign. Mike in Pittsburgh. Thanks, Mike. And finally, from James, he says, just because, thanks for continuing to make my favorite podcast, James in Salt Lake City. Thanks very much. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program. To search through all the raw American TV data, just go to youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonThat. We tweet when we're heading to a casino and we'd love to meet up with you. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review on us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. We're recording a little early this time because I'm going to go to Comic-Con this week, and I needed time to edit the show and put it out there. So when this actually posts on Thursday, I will be at the con. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Anything exciting this year?
There wasn't anything in particular, but I'm going to go to a lot. Since I'm a TV guy, I'm going to go to a lot of the TV panels. There's some sneak peeks of some shows coming up and some other things too. I'm not going to any of the big panels like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones because I just don't want to wait in the lines to get in there. But looking forward to that. And then you're going to be going back to work here soon and hopefully on the road to some good recovery.
Yeah, I'm going to give myself a week away. I think if you're not going out to the casino, I may not go this weekend.
Yeah, we'll probably, well, I'm definitely not going out.
Yeah, I may just stay home and rest because I definitely need that.
Yeah, good.
I'm laughing to myself about that. Over the years, people have always asked us like, oh, when you're in Vegas, have you ever gone out to like, chicken ranch?
Oh, like the brothels out there?
The brothels, around the Vegas area.
Back when we were single even.
Back when we were single. And it's so funny because our response is, we don't even stop to eat.
You know how long it would take to get out there, first of all.
Out there for that?
Yeah, and then you're there for what, 15 minutes and then back? That's a lot of time.
And spending money on that? I mean, we've got craps to play. We would always laugh, and it's kind of true. I mean, we don't even stop to eat.
It's true.
Forget about women.
It's true. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom again. This is the worst.
Yeah, right. We can do that stuff at home in San Diego.
That's right. All right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.